appreciate Deji for pulling my legs in, because I just wanted to give a complete flow of what we need to do, and also creating an opportunity for for observations. But however, I just want to show us and practically demonstrate how we can create a pipeline in Agile Portal. So I will quickly share my screen. So if you can see my screen, say, aha.
We can see it. No, 1 second, no. Yes, we can see it.
Can you see my screen now?
Aha.
So kudos to Biodun, because we were on this portal for like 4 hours till nearly 2 a.m. this morning. Biodun, thank you very much for coming through for us to, create a project on the Agile board. And also, thank you, Deji, for giving me the opportunity and the permission to create a project in the Agile board, just for practical demonstration purpose. So I have created I just want us to have an impression that we are all non-technical, just as Deji rightly point, so that we can have an idea of how the flow is when it comes to Agile CICD pipeline, how to create it, how to create the build pipeline, how to create the release pipeline, and also how to merge codes and everything. But I don't want to go too technical with the fetching of code, pushing and all that. But I just want to go on today with creating Agile pipeline. So how to go on the QA technical side of it, I really want to limit it to how we can be able to create, pipeline from board, how we can push projects into the repo from the Agile board, and also how can we be able to clone repo into our local repository, and also create a project there, and also push back to Agile repo. So that is basically what I want to demonstrate now. But first and foremost, how to create a build pipeline, for continuous integration. So I'm starting with going into our repo on Agile board. Our repo basically, there we have n numbers of projects, that we have created. So this is the Agile repo section. If you could see, I have already created this project, which is empty. It has no code, just for us to flow with the, the processes of creating the CI/CD pipeline, but the build pipeline to be specific for now. So basically what I want to do here is to push our project from our local repository, from the Visual Studio to be specific, here onto the Agile repo. So basically what I want to do here is to, if you could see this place, because when we are creating a project, we sometimes have this idea of creating a git ignore file, so as to make sure certain documentations within that project that must have generated during build processes would not be included in our main project. So what I want to do here is to create a git ignore file within this project, so that whatever that is not necessary within our build, when we are building our project, will be in that git ignore. So I'm going to say Visual Studio, because we're going to use Visual Studio to, if you can see here, I will commit this read file into our master branch with the git ignore as well. So what I want to do here, I'm cloning this particular repo into our local repository. And when I'm cloning it, I want to make sure I have this add README file into it, and also the git ignore. So what I want to do is to initiate where the git ignore and README file is going to go. As I said, we're going to clone our project. We're going to push our project from the Visual Studio into our local repository. Then from there, push it back into our Azure repo here, so that we can use that to build a pipeline. Okay, so I will initiate that. So here we will kind of clone this particular repository and clone it into our local machine. So what we will do, I don't know why this one is, sorry. Pardon me, maybe my system will be a little bit slow. Let me do that again. Okay, here we're going to clone this particular, we've already stated here, look at it already. I have already created that git ignore and readme file inside the project. So I want to clone this project now to my local repository. So now we all know that if we want to do that, we will use our git patch or CMD terminal to execute some git codes that will enable us to get these particular projects cloned into our local repository. I have a Git tool that is called Tortoise Git. It is a clicks and a UI interface Git system that enables you to do things on the fly without going to Git batch tags, putting in some commands, or CMD, putting in some commands for you to push your code, fetch your codes and all that. So I've already created a folder, this folder in my system. And here I've already cloned the repo, and I want to clone it into my local repository because that's where we're going to have our project. So I'm going to right click. If you could see in my dialog box, you could see Git cloned. I've already cloned that, so I'm going to have it major repo that houses my project. So I'm going to clone it into this local repository. So we don't have to go into Git batch or CMD and start executing some lines. So automatically we'll just have our repo here on our system. So if you could see, it's green, it says success. If you are doing it for the first time, it might ask you for your authentication, your Azure username and password. So close this. So if you look into this, you will see that we have what we have already in our Azure repo. Everything is now here. So I will want to, as I said, I just want to practically demonstrate it. So what I will do now is to create a project in Visual Studio, just for us to have an idea of how everything flows. So we just create a project head quickly. I will try as much as possible to be mindful of time. And also, I'm going to be creating a spec flow project, so that we can push this project into our local repository, and from there, we can commit it into our local repository. From there, we'll push it back to Azure report. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to just name it CICD project, just for naming sake purposes. Then what we will do is to make sure I want to get this project inside this particular folder that I have created. So I'm going to copy this path and bring it here into a new project. Then I'll create this project. Then we are using the framework.NET 6.0. Then I'm going to use the test framework. I'm going to choose an unit for demo purposes. Then I will create a project within our Visual Studio. So this project, this is what I'm going to use in creating the build pipeline, and also continue with the release pipeline, so that whatever changes we commit, maybe subsequently, if I'm permitted, I could see that I continue to run this on to show us on opportunity time frame basis with respect to our QA community. So we've created a new project. So the reason why I'm doing it is for the non-technical people to know what we are doing. If we want to start building pipelines, first and foremost, what we need to do, how we need to bring in our codes into our local repository, then commit any changes of our codes within our projects on our Visual Studio. Then we'll push it back into our Azure repository or local repository, just like that. So what we will do here, I don't want to really go through so many codings or trying to create some test cases here. So this is just a basic code that Azure SpecFlow has given us, which is very fantastic. It gives you a default, code for example, calculator. If you check it, all the codes will run and everything. So I want to commit this empty project into our Azure repo so that we can create a build pipeline. So what I will do here is to go to these things, Team Explorer, so that we can look at where we're going to commit changes to, because we've already made some kind of changes because of the new project I have created. So if I click on this git change, so here is I'm going to commit this project into the master branch. So if I want to change it to any branch, I can as well exchange it by doing the drop down, but we are committing it to the master branch. So here I'll just give a message, say initial, just like that, just for demonstration purposes. Then I want to commit everything. Then here you could see it has created the commit number for us in our local repository. Then what I need to do is just to sync everything now, then pull everything, then I'll push. So what this entails is that I'm pushing this project that I have created into the Agile repo that I cloned into our local repository. So what this is basically saying here, this message is that everything has been successfully synchronized, the incoming and outgoing commits. So what we would do is when we go back to our Agile board, and if I refresh, hopefully we'll have that project committed, pushed into this particular, if you could see, the project that I created here in the Visual Studio is successfully committed and pushed into our Agile repo. So if we look at it here, you see the projects, everything, the feature file that we created. If you notice, it's calculator, everything now is successfully pushed into Agile repo. So from here, we want to create a build pipeline where we can publish the artifact, and the artifact we will use to create the release pipelines. So what we want to do now is we want to create a pipeline. So we'll say create pipelines, because we have successfully pushed our project into Agile repo. Now, Agile DevOps is an ocean. And because Agile repo has this capability to integrate with, third-party tools and other Git repos, you can, wherever your code is, if your code is outside Agile repos or is on Bitbuckets or GitHub or other Git, you can be able to integrate it into your Agile repo and clone your codes into Agile and continue with your activities there. Now, I don't want to go into too much depth with YAML. YAML is a kind of a configuration a markup language. What this stands for, the acronym is yet another markup language. I was explaining to someone that it's like JSON and XML. If you are doing your API, from our QA part, if we are doing our API testing, we send request, HTTP request, get, by using JSON or XML, because these are independent of every programming languages, and all programming languages, Python, Java, they all have libraries that pass this YAML file, the JSON pass, as in PARSE. They have these libraries that pass because of the fact that known organization wants to expose their server or their programming, whatever, to each other. So whatever we want to talk to each other through API, we use JSON or XML, even though Blue Sky Citadel is the technology behind it is C#.NET. We can be able to, communicate with any other, organization that has Java or May1 projects. Because why? We have the capability to pass whatever JSON or XML we are using to exchange our information. So what I'm trying to say here is, with JSON, machines talk to machines, servers talk to servers, right, through JSON. But with YAML is a kind of communication between a human and a machine. YAML helps us to configure, do a lot of configurations, because with YAML, you can be non-technical, you can be able to use it. So it's so popular among different technologies these days. So if we want to use YAML file, we can click this, or we can use the basic I don't know why my board is trying to see that he wants to show himself now that I'm presenting. Holy Ghost fire. Anyway, so yeah. So with that, YAML, we normally do some configurations with YAML in order for us to select the code we are using within the repository that our project is. But we can also go with this classic editor to create a pipeline without YAML. So this one is for for us not technical people to understand, so that the creation of the pipeline will just be ongoing, flowing, without you not looking at too much extreme codes and everything. So I will say, let me go with this. So by the time we use the classic editor to create our pipelines, by default, Azure will blindly recognize that our project or our code is in our Azure repo. That is why you see this being by default selected from the master branch. So this is our team's projects within that repo. If you could notice, look at every project that are here. But we have our repo here, our project in CICD 1. So automatically by default, it has selected that for us, and from the repo as well. So of course, this is our repo, and we have only one repo there. So we are committing everything, our scheduled builds and everything through the master branch. Then we will continue with this, where our source code is coming from, which is the Azure repo. Continue to create our pipeline. Then here, Azure repo, as I said, Azure DevOps, as I said, is Ocean. So what here is saying is a template that is pre-built for us to choose from as per whatever project we are trying to create a pipeline on. So it could be Android projects, it could be .NET project, it could be Maven project, Python project, Ant project. Everything is here for you to select a template that is pre-built for you to create your to build your kind of app on. So we are building an application, isn't it? And we want to create a pipeline on it. So what we will do is to select a .NET template. So I'm going to select ASP .NET because we are building a web application. So we're going to apply this one to it. So what this basically do here is that we are using a NuGet package. For those of us that is coming from QA, and we know that for us to build, our applications, there are some certain installations we need to do, and those installations, the tools we are using is going to be coming from the NuGet package. Then those packages are going to be restored. So when we click here, this is a place where we will see if we're going to want to do some configurations, but by default, everything has been configured for us on how our NuGet package can be restored. So when we are building applications, we have a configuration aspect of our projects that builds the projects. When you build the project, we test it. When we test it, we package it and we publish the artifact. So the artifact is the complete project that we build, which is the artifact. So this is the where our test is going to be assembled. And just a heads up, we've been doing some certain things not the right way, and Chris has been able to be fantastic in highlighting this particular area where we need to change some codes. But I think we'll hit on that from the QA perspective during our QA meetups. So we're going to be doing some configurations here in order for us to run our test so that our test will create results. So what I'm basically going to do here is to change this test file. Reason being that I can create pipelines, okay? It will work, it will move, everything will run, but test will not show. We will not see any result for test. Reason being that we did not configure our project into this test file. If you just hit build configuration, that's it. So I'm going to copy this aspect of our test. The name of the project, and just blindly or not blindly put it here. Then what I will do, I will just delete these build configurations so that our test can run, so that results can show, okay? So at the end of the day, everything is fine. Then we'll go to this aspect of configuration, because we want everything to trigger, and that is the beauty of CICD, without not doing any manual, no manual schedules, no manual, you don't manually execute it. So if we don't check this box when we are creating our build pipeline, we cannot get to see the continuous integration. So we'll click this one, okay? So everything is going to happen through the master branch. So we can do some schedules. For example, we can say, okay, let our build or our project run every morning before we start work. So if you could see when to build, so we can say, okay, you know what? Let us build from 7 o'clock in the morning. Let our pipeline build, so that when we come in, we can see if there are any errors, any issues, any blocker, any flag, we can be able to rectify that. So we work Monday to Friday. Okay, we can say, okay, let's leave it at that, at Monday to Friday. Then we can use universal time. So this is where this configuration part comes in. So this is basically what we need to do here. So basically, right now, we've been able to see we are very, very close to building our pipeline, to build it. So here we will save. Then it is optional for us to give a comment. We can say, okay, first build. You can just give a comment, say first build, if you have to. But it's not an option. It's not mandatory. Then we can say, now we want to queue it. So we want to start running the application, our build pipelines. Then this dialog box for us to check where our agent pool is we're going to use. Now the agent pool is the hosted server where we're going to run our application from, whether we're going to use Azure DevOps Vim virtual machines, or we're going to use our own hosted server. We can as well create a self-hosted server for ourselves. Then you don't have to depend on Azure creating, cloud server for you to host your applications, to host your, your activities and everything. But the beauty of using Azure is everything is on cloud. So that it has already been by default, hosted server has already been created for you. Then here, agent specification. What that agent specification means is that what machines are you going to use? Are you going to use, these are various machines. Don't forget, we use Mac, Ubuntu, Linux, Mac, and Windows. So whichever is your choice, you will use, and these are agents. And when Azure creates, is a hosted server for you. It has to host it in an agent machine, if it is Ubuntu or Windows or Mac. So you will now come here and select which agent you feel you are comfortable with, or you just want to use in running your pipelines. So let's go with Windows 16 as by default it has, picked for us. Then we'll say run. So by the time we say run, you see it has already queued. I've already started time, say right now. Then we can decide to go into the queued system. It has already started counting. The build has started creating, started running. So we can decide to go into it to see what is happening. So you can see it is checking out our codes that is on demo. So it's using that the NuGet package that we use in building our project from Visual Studio. So now it is restoring the NuGet package. You see the line moving, the NuGet package. Now after that, it's going to build our solutions. That's the what we created in Visual Studio. So we'll just, it's going to take a little bit of time. We'll just patiently wait. So it's building our solutions now. So this is a situation where it's unable to build our project, but it has published that artifact. But if we've not been able to see what is happening with our test. So when we click our test now, it skipped it. Then let's see what happened here. So we can do some debugging here and see what happens. Okay, this is a red line. It said error has occurred. That JSON doesn't have the target for. Now, what this build is practically saying is that there's no target for the framework we have used, which is .NET 6.0 in the target framework for your projects. Okay, just as I was about to explain this morning that, this was what I encountered. I tried to see how I can be able to rectify this. I wasn't able. I did all what I could in order for the solution to build. It didn't build. So I practically called my friend and my brother, Chris, to see what he can be able to do. But I think we weren't able to do that much. Reason being that I don't know if probably because I just created a project on the fly on Visual Studio without executing some codes, writing some codes and putting NuGet packages and everything. So this is where I practically got stuck when I was talking about the glitch. So I really tried and I see, okay, I don't want to look at other projects that I've done. I just want to see how this can work. So if Digi can hear me and Chris, this was where I got stuck, and Chris and I we were trying to see how we can be able to fix it so that I can just practically finish my build pipeline, creating my build pipeline, and this is where it stopped. So if everything had gone, completely as expected, we would have seen over here, my artifact will be published over here, So this is practically where I had to say, I have to do much more debugging to see what must have happened, because everything is working fine, and the agents and the agent file, everything was working fine. So I would say practically, if that code had not gone the way it is right now, we would have been, say we are through with our build pipeline, so that we'll now start to create our release pipeline. So this is the situation I faced. So I was thinking that I will want to continue in a subsequent day, where I will use today to rectify this, so that when we come back the next time, I will just complete the step-by-step practical demonstration of creating pipelines. I don't know if anybody is listening to me. Can you hear me, Tolu? Can you hear me, everybody?
Yep. Yes, I can hear you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I just wanted to practically demonstrate it to us that, okay, this is where something might go wrong, so that even if we are not technical, we will know some glitches that will happen, so that we will know how to rectify it. So I'll still continue with this on our agreed sections, if I'm permitted to use that phrase, so that I will finish it, creating the pipeline.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Harold, for that. Thank you so much for that session. So let's stop this one. So that was good anyway. So it was hands-on. So anyway, so yeah, so you are able to get to that point when everyone knows how to create the project repository, and also run the code, add the code to it anyway, even though it's not running, but that's fine. That's a different thing. So maybe